RITC Cybersecurity, empowering businesses with robust cybersecurity protection. Welcome back to the part 2 of the Ciphered Reality podcast with our guest, Stephen from Newbridge Solutions.
So that does kind of take us into our next segment, technology and innovation, the impact of AI and natural language processing on IVR. Seems like it's been pretty positive.
Well, I think that, kind of going back to some of the points we made before, is that AI and natural language processing, and I'll do air quotes on that one, is, natural,
Right.
it's much better. It doesn't sound automated. I will tell you that most of the IVRs that have, voice audio, because you're calling in on a phone number, we are very clear with the clients that they should use a text-to-voice converter because you don't want live voices like, your secretary, your marketing department people, voice on there because, and Mike can speak to this, there's AI people out there grabbing these voices and using these voices to,
100%.
do crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you a good example. I did a financial organization not too long ago, and they'd been around 30, 40 years. And we got into it, and they sent all this audio over for their IVR. It's pretty extensive IVR. And we're listening to some of this audio, and I'm like, number one, it's not good quality. Number two, there's like 4 different voices on here.
Oh, no.
And they have, and the audio didn't match. The options that were provided on the audio recordings didn't match what their routing actually was.
Oh, no.
And so we go back to them, and I go, hey, we need a couple of these redone because your audio doesn't match your routing. And AI is not going to have a good time with this either.
Right.
And so they're like, oh, well, that person doesn't work here. They haven't worked here in 5 years.
Oh, no.
I go, well,
Oh, no.
I go, maybe this is a great opportunity for you to, since we're, it's like, what would you like us to do? Well, I'll have, this other employee, they'll do the audio for us. There's a closet at the end of the hall, and it's really quiet, and that's where we're going to do it. This is a financial institution, a national financial institution. And I'm like, why don't you just take the opportunity just to redo the whole thing? Because we're literally giving you a Ferrari, and you just put spray paint on it, bicycle tire, and it's this beautiful machine under the metal, but you have an ugly paint job with the bad audio.
That's a good example. Does that usually have a pretty good outcome?
Yeah, and then they start realizing, we probably should. And then when I explained to them, I said, look, the turnaround time on text to audio is seconds. Like once you log into whatever, there's a bunch of them out there, it's seconds. You have to do it down the hall. You got to get a microphone, and you got this, and schedule time, and how many takes do you have to do before it's done right? Then you got to get the audio, and then you got to edit it, and then it takes us 2 weeks to get the audio if there's 20, 30, 50 audio files, right? It takes us like 2 or 3 weeks from the studio to get this stuff. And we just lost 2 weeks of build time when we could have had it in 2 hours.
Yikes. Yeah.
So, the experience is a lot. It's just, so the innovation of AI and natural language, I just kind of talked about the benefits of that, which, these systems, you can just type it in, get your audio, boom, moving on. AI has cut down, the agent interaction with customers to some level. People can argue, that it's less personal. That's true. But also understand, what customer wants to talk to somebody just to find out if their power is going to be on in 30 minutes, right?
Right.
I don't need to talk to somebody about that. That's actually, talking to an agent to ask that question is a negative experience for a client because I'm waiting in queue. God knows how long I'll be in that queue. And then I get to someone who says, oh, it'll be 30 minutes. Oh, man, I was on hold for 20 minutes for that conversation when all I had to do was call in and boom, get it immediately, and bam, I'm done. So that's improved the client experience, even though the argument could be, it depends on different products and services, the customer interaction. So I don't know if that is a good
Yeah, for sure. So going back to your example of the power company, mine actually sends out text messages. Just a couple months ago, my power went out, and it was, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds to a minute. I got a text message saying the power is out, and it gives my address, and I was like, oh, yep, it sure is. Um, so like with
But
your
you have to approve that, right?
yes,
By your yeah. So a lot of
yes.
people don't, and so then they don't get those messages.
Yeah, so that's gonna bring me into this next part, the integration with chatbots, SMS, and voice assistants. So is that something you guys offer, the SMS?
Yeah, so that's part of an omni-channel offering. So
Uh-huh.
our clients have the ability to have chat off their website, a little chat bot,
Yep.
SMS, phone number comes in, social media interaction. So all the social media platforms out there, you're out there as a company, you got Instagram, Facebook, all that,
Hmm.
and they start chatting on those platforms. It pipes right through Facebook directly into our platform, and then they're able to interact in a constructive, organized fashion from an agent level on one
Yeah.
screen. So I'm an agent. I can take voice calls, social media, SMS, and chat all from one screen based how I'm enabled by my management.
Nice.
I can take some of them, all of them, different queues. We have a
Wow.
client we're doing right now with 47 different email queues. That's
Oh
one I
my
forgot to
gosh.
mention is the email. 47 emails because they have all these different lines of business, right?
Oh
And
wow.
so I could be an agent talking to someone on the call, and I can have an email pop through, and I'm just listening to the client and their problem, and
Hmm.
maybe I just kind of browse the email that I got from the client, and it comes through in a queue format. So the
Okay.
chat and the email and the social media interactions come through a format that's similar to a voice queue. Call comes in, you
Wow.
get a greeting, you know, waiting for the next available agent, et cetera, routes to an agent. How can I help you?
Hmm.
Very similar experience.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's that's a lot of information I had no idea about before. That's really cool
Yes.
though. Okay. Security and privacy concerns. How are they addressed in with IVR?
Well, I'd say so. It's really the security concerns, on an IVR are going to be sitting with the provider of the platform that hosts the IVR. So there's a lot of vendors out there that do it, right? We
Hmm.
work with a couple of them, and my partners and I back in the day, we built one from
Oh,
scratch,
nice.
and so it's a long conversation. So we're very familiar with the technology. But from a security perspective, obviously, Mike, this is his expertise.
Right.
Expertise. You're protecting your servers from the bad guys, right?
Right.
And then you also have the level at the agent level, right? So you have
Hmm.
agents who are logged in, having conversations with clients, and there's information that's on their machines, right? So that information needs to be protected as well. And then you'll have the APIs that are coming off these
Yeah.
IVRs, right? That are pinging all over the place, looking for this information, looking for that information from the contact, center platform provider to your CRM, which is somebody else, right?
Hmm.
Salesforce, you name CRM. And that being the case, there's all these security concerns related to those connections. And so, um, I'll hand it over to Mike to
Oh
talk more
yeah.
about those
So
conversation points, but that's what I see. Those three is what I
Yeah.
see.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to do your administrative controls first, which is going to be your people, and tell them what they can and can't do, and put those, decide what kind of data it is. Now you're going to create policy and procedure and training around that. And then from a security perspective for a server, you got to understand everything from how long does this data have to be retained? How long should it be retained legally? What kind of data is it? How it's segregated, how it's encrypted, how it's stored, how it's transmitted, who has access to it. Then you got to get to the whole next level of backups. Are they immutable? What are you doing with that? Is this data really relevant, or are you just keeping it because you have to? Is it something that somebody's going to go into? What is your front end for it? And then you got to start looking at the CRM and start talking about, what is this CRM, HIPAA compliant, PCI compliant? What kind of data are we actually storing in? Then you have to look at the access control list for the CRM to make sure that only the people that need to have this data, access to this data, have this data, that it's not just generically available to anybody that has access to the CRM. So it's a fairly sizable process. And what I
Hmm.
find in our industry, and Mark can attest to that, people go and they go grab a CRM, they get everything set up, and they're like, all right, now we got to do security. It's like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. Now you have a mess because you should have started with security and started building out those controls because they've already done their user acceptance testing and everybody likes it. It's like, well, we got to
Right.
change all this access.
Right.
So,
And that can be so messy. It
oh
can
yeah,
be so
and it takes a
messy.
long time, and you got upset people, and
Hmm.
everybody wants to get to market really quick, and they just don't realize if you start with security instead of trying to bolt security on, it's going to be more effective.
Hmm.
Actually, we just had this conversation yesterday with one of our clients. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, you're building this new site. Well, let's have the security conversation first,
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Luckily, they were very open to that though, so
yeah,
it was okay.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We have talked about a lot of I feel like this is a very dense episode.
Oh yeah,
It's been good
but
though. I've enjoyed it. All right, we're gonna move on if you guys are open to that.
I'm amenable.
Cool.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay. Next we have is future and big picture. So predictions for IVR in the next 5 to 10 years.
Predictions.
Yeah.
So it's probably a conversation that a lot of people don't want to really hear or talk about if you're in the industry, to be honest with you. But it depends on really if you're a provider, direct provider, like a in-house customer service department, or if you're a BPO, an outsourced environment.
Hmm.
The outsourced people probably don't want to hear too much about this because AI, to the point I made earlier,
Yeah.
handles very well the remedial interactions.
Right.
And so I would say um, a very high percentage of offshore work is done for the middle and lower complexity of
Hmm.
work that customers need to have done. The middle and higher complexity typically is handled within most companies directly, and is typically domestic. Whatever country you happen to be in the world, whatever product service
Right.
you have, most people handle that in-house in their own domestic environment. And for all the reasons that make sense, going back to ROI, right?
Hmm.
And so from an ROI perspective, basic stuff, if it can be handled offshore for, a lesser price, I won't say much lesser price. I've done it many times. People
Hmm.
always have the perception that sending work offshore is cheaper. Well, when you get the bill at the end of the month and you look at the bill from the previous month, in-house versus exterior, I
Hmm.
will tell you it's very similar. It's
Yeah.
not much
Really?
different.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot different. It's just not. You may save 10%, maybe 15, and yes, maybe in the grand scheme of things, that's millions of dollars. But in the
Sure.
grand scheme of things, what is your impact to your client experience, right?
Right.
Hmm.
Um, and that's what a lot of people don't see or want to look at. But from a long-term perspective, I think that the impact then offshore for that middle complexity and below is going to be substantial. You have, two major countries that regions of the world that handle a good portion of the outsourced work in the
Right.
world, and I think you're looking at an impact, from 60 to 80% of that traffic going away to AI agents,
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
and that's a lot.
Yeah. That's a big
That's a
number.
lot. It's a big, big number.
Yeah.
The impact, domestically to people, um, it'll be an impact. I don't think it'll be more than 10, 20%
Hmm.
personally, because most of the complex stuff is done domestically around the world anyhow. European, the countries in Europe,
Hmm.
EU, most of those people are handling that traffic in house. It's complex, and they outsource the rest of it, just like folks in the states do, companies in the states do. So I think that there's, and so then you go down to, the client experience, right? So that's the impact to people, right?
Right.
Agents, environments. Then 5 to 10 years down the road, what's the difference in customer experience? I think our customer experience
Yeah.
will be, 2, 3 times better because, if I can talk to an AI agent and get my remedial answers that I need,
Hmm.
I, as a customer, consumer of that product service of that company, I'm happy because I'm on the phone and off the phone, right?
Right.
I'm on a chat, I'm off the chat.
Right.
I'm on the SMS, I'm out of the. I'm in and out quick, right?
Yes.
That's all I want. I just need a quick answer,
Yeah.
and it's not that I'm lazy. I don't think my question is all that complex. I just don't know where to find it, or I don't have it, or I don't
Sure.
know it. But I don't need to wait in queue for 5 minutes talking to someone, in another country to get an answer after 20 or 30 minutes
Right.
when it could get rendered to me in 15, 20, 30 seconds, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I
And
think
so,
Mari brought this up
go
in a
for it.
podcast earlier. that we did earlier today actually is that, coming to this AI stuff, we'd want to be the early adopter on it so you learn with it and can grow with it as opposed
Right.
to having it forced on you at a later date. So I think you got a great point with this because you're right at the beginning of this.
Hmm.
So
You get to grow with it. It's
yeah.
kind of exciting.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that to Mike's point, grow with it, right?
Hmm.
I think that you start small, um,
Yeah.
and a lot of these folks just go all in, which is great. I mean, more power to them, but it makes the implementation on that scenario exponentially longer, more
Hmm.
difficult,
Hmm.
time-wise. You're talking some of the ones that we see, some of them are 6 months at least.
Wow.
And it's not that it takes 6 months to program the system. It takes 6 months, 5 months for the company to figure out what they need to do
Right.
to
Right.
have an experience that's a positive one for the client within the system.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's the problem, right?
Hmm.
So
Oh yeah. They don't
we
come
did a
in with a plan
company,
at all.
Yeah.
no, they don't come up with a plan at all because they don't know. And
Right.
and the question that always blows my mind is, well, what's best practices?
I don't know.
And I'm like, I don't know, and they're talking to these, AI, agent companies, which is fine. We do it on our
Hmm.
side as well. There's different ways it can be done, but it's all relative. People best practices. Best practices for what?
Yeah.
Riding a bicycle versus a motorcycle versus,
Oh,
a race car. I mean,
I need more.
what is your question?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's I think one of the things that I think I recommend people take, like one division, like if you come in and you have at a basic level, you have financial services, collections, you have billing department, you have a customer service department. Let's just keep it that remedial. I would say start with the billing department,
Hmm.
having an AI agent situation, because that's easy, right? Someone's calling into billing or into collections. They want to know how much they got to pay to get their phone turned back on, right? I'm an
Hmm.
old Verizon guy.
Yeah.
They want to know what their previous amounts were. They want to know what they're getting billed on. If
Right.
they want to do it over the phone, which is a little arduous maybe, but they want to know these basic answers. And if you can provide that to them, that's great. Cuts out a lot of the traffic to live agents, and they're getting handled with it. Can I pay my bill with you right now, Mr. or Mrs. AI agent? Right? Oh, sure,
Hmm.
you can pay that right now. Let's do that.
Hmm.
And we have a credit card on file. We know who you are. Would you like
Get
to
it
use the
taken
one
care
on
of.
file that with the last 4 digits of the credit card number? Yeah, do that one, please. That'd be great. All right, we're going to
Hmm.
process it, and we're going to send you a email or a text with the confirmation information. I'm
Hmm.
super happy. This is great. Life's working
Right.
great for me right now. I didn't have to, go through the process of waiting for an agent and get to an agent. And so that's really that conversation as far as what it's going to look like in the future.
Hmm.
It will be more positive because the middle and lower complexity type calls can be automated, and that's what customers really want. And I know there's different age groups that have different needs and expectations, but overall, people just don't want to be on the phone if they don't have to be, or in a chat or
Oh, for
SMS
sure.
or anything else.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely one of those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to sit for 30 minutes
Right.
to complain about their service. So,
Yeah.
you know,
And then they try to sell you on the audio, right? While you're on hold.
yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh
let
You
me
want
tell
to,
no.
let me tell you about a new program we have. We
No.
have this
oh,
great new product. I'm like, oh my goodness, don't sell me something more because I'm going to be on another phone call next week asking, with
oh
Right.
yeah.
problems.
And then do you want to fill out your customer satisfaction survey?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, so that's. I'm glad you brought that up, Mike. And that's a huge issue out there, right? You
Yeah.
have people, organizations that want to. I have a home warranty, and every time I call into it, it's an offshore group that handles the traffic now. It was domestic, new company ownership, and so they pushed it offshore. Very nice people, very nice people. But the company, I guess, requires a customer survey at the end of each call.
Hmm.
And I've been in the business a while, and they do a great job. Nothing negative in that regard. But why am I, as a customer, doing the work of your quality assurance people.
Oh.
Exactly.
Why do I have to go through a survey? You mean you can't figure it out on your own?
Right.
You know,
Are
there's
those
tons of tools out there. There's AI that can monitor the call and convert it and do all kinds of magic to see the tone of voice and all this magic. And you're asking me as a client to do your job, to tell
Right.
you how good you're doing? You should know how I feel about the service,
hmm
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
right?
Are those very
Yeah.
useful, really? I mean, I
Oh,
can't.
tremendously useful. I mean, we have a AI platform that when these calls come in, they're recorded, obviously, and
hmm
then it does the voice to text conversion, and
Okay.
it'll give you tone of voice, it'll give you
Oh,
interruptions, it'll give you questions that were asked.
that's
It has
cool.
keywords and key phrases being sentences, paragraphs,
Mhm.
and it's looking for those variations of those sentences and phrases. Now you
hmm
have keywords where you're looking for a competitor's name. Well, here's a good conversation. Someone calls into a tissue company that makes tissue. Hey, I'd like to complain about your Kleenexes. Well, we don't sell Kleenex, sir. We sell
Uh-oh.
tissue. No, but when my wife was using the Kleenex, it fell
Right.
apart, you know,
Oh no.
and we sell tissue paper. Kleenex is a brand,
Right.
and so it's not a product; it's a brand. And so, with that being the case, if so, here's a great example. And I make this point to customers all the time, and I would say in many cases it's lost. But I said on these AI platforms, we're able to do tone of voice, inflections, questions, keywords, key phrases, all these things, transcript of the entire call, all this stuff about this call for every single call. Whereas in the old
Wow.
days, you had some group of people, QA people, sat,
hmm
they probably, listen to 2, 3 calls per agent a month because
Wow.
the volume is so high, there's no way they could do more than that. Otherwise, you'd
Yeah.
have a team of 150 people, listening to calls all day. And so the AI can now do it on 100% of your calls, provide you red flags and calls that seem to be problem calls. And then you can go look at those, listen to them, read the transcript, which is way more efficient, and see what's going on. And then the agent actually can have access to that themselves to self-improve in addition to the coaching from their agents. But
Wow.
the survey conversation, once again, why am I doing that work as a customer? You should know, and you should
Yeah.
have the tools, you know. Um, once again, I want to get on and off the phone. I'm not here to build your business.
Right.
Yeah, I actually don't take those surveys. I
No.
don't stick around for that.
No. I just want
No,
off a call.
most people don't.
hmm
I can tell you this about IVRs though. I mean, if I get to the point where I get a bad one, I just start saying human being, human being,
Yes.
human being, human being.
I've witnessed that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Well,
I
it's some
found
of
it
these.
very comical, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, to your point, Mike. I mean, it got so bad back years ago, and you don't see it as much anymore. But companies would not enable the zero because so
Mhm.
many people just call in, boom, boom,
Uh-huh.
just hit zero, boom, boom.
Yeah.
They would change it to an 8, a 7, a 6, a 9, something else that wasn't on the options, and just to air out so that they would get pushed to an agent. But what
hmm
people don't understand, because they're not in the business, when you do that, the odds are you're going to the training department. That's where you're going.
Oh.
Oh.
And so, yeah, that's where they're not sending you to some highly qualified person. Their perspective is you're not playing the game, my game, so I'm not playing your game.
Oh my
Oh
gosh, that's
wow.
really funny.
That's
Yeah, so you
interesting.
Whoa.
end up in the training department with some poor schmuck who just got, drug off the street the week before, and all they can really say is, "Hello, my name is so and so. How can I help
Oh
you?"
my
"Oh,
gosh.
I got this problem." "Yeah, what problem would that be?" And after 10 minutes of conversation, like, "Yeah, I can't help you. Let me transfer you over to somebody else." Boom. So
Exactly.
Oh
now
my
you've just
gosh.
extended the whole call conversation. Once again, the customer came in at 7, they're running out of that operation at a 4,
Oh,
maybe a
for
3
sure.
if you're lucky.
For sure.
Or a
Oh
one.
my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
I
You're not going up to the highest. You're not going up to
no.
the secretary of the president's level. Just so you know.
No, definitely not. I worked in pharmacy a long time ago, and anytime we it's making me chuckle now that maybe it's different for insurance. I don't know. Their setup could have been completely different, but we would do that every time we had to call in for an insurance. We would skip all of the options and just press you until we got a person to talk to. Now I wonder.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. So key takeaway message for our listeners today. If there was something you could just leave them with, what would it be?
Put the right people in a thoughtful position
Mm,
to design your IVR experience for your client and for the agent experience. And that's what's missed
yeah.
is the agent experience is just as important as the client experience.
Oh,
Because if
absolutely.
you don't give the agents the tools to be successful and have higher attrition rates, people leaving because they're frustrated with the
Right?
job, and their tone of voice and their demeanor and things will not be maintained positive throughout the day.
Hmm.
Inversely, you'll have a client experience that is not as positive as it could be because the agent doesn't have the tools to do their
Yeah.
job
Yeah.
and they're not happy. And it's a balance, it's a fine balance between the two, but they are just as important on both sides. And there's a lack of understanding in the industry in regards to that. And so um, if I could, I'm the president of an association, the North American Customer Service Management Association. It's a standards organization. It's free. They don't charge anything. There's no money to be made, but it's a standards organization. If they have best practices conversations on that website, which
Oh,
is,
that's great.
this is the subject. In this subject, these are the things to look at. They're not giving you the answers. They're just giving you a conversation of what things to
Yeah.
look at and think about when you're doing these different things, service levels, speed of answer, agent hiring, all these different things. And it's important to have the right people.
Hmm.
And my takeaway from the conversation, going back to the balance of agents and the client experience, is that just having the IT department on these implementations is not the answer because IT
Right.
is not dealing with the client directly. Their configuration and management um, professionals on these platforms, but they're not the ones that interacts with the client. Their team doesn't interact with the client. And to be fair, they're not the people that really understand the client at the
Hmm.
level that a customer service director, management, quality assurance person would understand.
For
And
sure.
so to craft that IVR experience with AI agents, routing options, things like that, it requires someone who understands the client experience journey that you want your client to have.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think we find that too often that there are the wrong people on those implementation calls and they don't really have a plan. And, um, we find that in some of our business, like, certain audits and things. And it's like, well, this is not a tech audit. This is a company audit. So we need to talk to HR. We need to talk. So I think you have to really have all the business stakeholders buy in and be available to create the proper experience for everyone,
Hmm.
not just the salespeople, definitely not just the IT people, because most IT people, I can attest to that, don't really want to talk to people. So that's what's my that's my 2 cents on that one.
I would
All
agree.
right.
Well, and I think, and to Mike's point, and to what I'm making about the right people, what I also find is, and this is not a popular conversation point, but organizations, upper middle management doesn't want to be bothered with being on these calls, right?
Right,
Hmm.
And so decisions are being made by middle management, in many cases below, that are not good decisions,
right.
and for their company and for their product. And then you roll out a product and it's all buttoned up through UAT and production. Next thing you know, you have this problem and that problem rolling through, and these upper management people are looking at reports, going, "What's going on? Oh my word, we had the system and we just spent all this money." And you go back, well, this is the documentation that you signed off on. Well, if we would have known, we wouldn't have done that. Well, how come you were involved? You're too
Yeah.
busy going to your steak dinners and lunches and you know
Right.
important VIP things, right?
Right. Be a little more involved, I guess. Well,
Good conversation.
yeah, I was just gonna say I've really enjoyed this conversation. I've liked this a lot. I've learned a lot, actually. Where can people find more information about you and your company?
Well, they can find me. I'm on LinkedIn, Stephen Kramer, Cramer, with Newbridge Business Solutions. Our website is newbridgebusinesssolutions.com with an S. And we're always willing to help and support people in the industry. I'm the president of the North American Customer Service Management Association, and it's the NACSMA.com. And you can find that website there. And we have some great board members that have great insight and experience as well. So always willing to help the industry and support the industry.
I love that. It's really
pretty
good.
soon you're going to be on the RITC Cybersecurity partner page. So we got that going for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
That's going to be great. All right. Well, that's all I've got for today.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Mari and Mike, for your time today. I really enjoyed the conversation. It was way more than I anticipated in a podcast, and it was just fun. It was fun.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great time, and I'm not going to end us with our normal sign off, which is we're heading to the bar, because it's still early on Friday, a little too early for fish tacos with Carlos O'Brien. So, with that being said, we really appreciate your time, and Mari, thanks for putting this whole thing together. You had some great questions there, and then obviously. Reach out to Steven, reach out to us if you got any questions, and we'll go from there. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.